The movie begins with a man named Seo Young-cheol calling the police. He calmly warns them that today he is about to carry out a biological terrorist attack at Dongwori building. He claims he once worked for Chains Bio and is the only person with the vaccine. After the call, he injects himself with the protective vaccine. The scene then shifts to Dongwori building, where a divorced couple, Kwon Woo-cheol and Han Gae-sung, arrive to attend a biotechnology conference hosted by Chains Bio. At the conference, Director Kong introduces a mysterious yellow slime mold that can share information and continuously evolve. To demonstrate its incredible abilities, scientists inject an extract from the slime mold into a paralyzed mouse. Within seconds, the mouse regains the ability to move, leaving everyone in the audience stunned. Director Kong explains that this breakthrough could one day cure serious human diseases and even dramatically increase human intelligence. While giving his presentation, Kong suddenly notices Seo Young-cheol standing among the guests. The moment he sees him, he becomes visibly nervous, abruptly ends his speech, and quickly leaves the stage. Meanwhile, Professor Kwon tells Professor Han that she has received another invitation for the conference from an unknown person. After the conference, Professor Han and Professor Kwon meet CEO Kong Woo. Professor Kwon tries to ask him about the second invitation, but before she can speak, Kong Woo receives a call from the counterterrorism squad. They mention the name Seo Young-cheol. As soon as he hears the name, Kong Woo becomes worried and quickly leaves. Wanting to talk to him, Professor Kwon follows him. Meanwhile, the police inform Kong Woo that Dr. Seo Young-cheol is planning a biological terrorist attack in the building where the conference is being held. Kong Woo tells them that he saw Seo earlier. The police assure him that they are on their way. After ending the call, Kong Woo enters the VIP room. A few moments later, Seo Young-cheol quietly follows him inside. From a distance, Professor Kwon notices Seo entering the VIP room to meet CEO Kong. Inside the VIP room, the conversation between CEO Kong and Seo Young-cheol reveals that the groundbreaking research originally belonged to Seo. However, Kong stole the research, claimed it as his own, and later fired Seo from the company. CEO Kong argues that he had no choice because Seo wanted to use the research for dangerous purposes. He calls Seo a psychopath. Enraged, Seo attacks Kong from behind and injects him with the deadly virus. Kong manages to push Seo into a room and lock the door. But it is already too late, the virus quickly spreads through Kang's body. Within seconds, he transforms into a zombie and begins attacking the people around him. Shortly after, Officer Lee Bon-suk arrives with his team and is shocked to see that the virus has already started spreading. He immediately orders a complete lockdown of the building. Meanwhile, Professor Han and Professor Kwon are having a meal at a restaurant. After finishing, they leave the restaurant. At that moment, a group of 3 people enters, takes a table, and places their order. Meanwhile, outside, multiple police buses arrive, and the officers quickly seal off the entire building. Back inside, the both professors are about to leave when they suddenly see terrified people running toward them. A large group of infected creatures is chasing everyone. Officer Lee is also running through the crowd, warning people to escape as quickly as possible. Confused by the chaos, both professors immediately start running. At that moment, a woman named Hyun-hee, in a wheelchair, is knocked to the ground. Without thinking, Professor Kwon runs back to help her. The infected are about to reach them, but the woman's younger brother, Choi Hyun-suk, a security guard in the building, arrives just in time and fights the infected off. A few moments later, they notice one of the infected attacking a person shown on an advertisement instead of a real person. They realize that the infected cannot tell the difference between real people and images. They quickly rush inside a clothing store to hide from the infected. Just then, Professor Kwon sees Officer Lee struggling with a zombie outside. Without thinking twice, she runs back to help him. Together, they manage to fight off the infected and safely make it inside the store. Moments later, a large group of zombies surrounds the entrance and starts smashing against the glass door. During the chaos, Officer Lee accidentally turns off the lights. As soon as the store goes dark, the zombies suddenly stop attacking the door, as if they can no longer see the people hiding inside. This gives the survivors a chance to catch their breath. Officer Lee tells the group that Seo Young-cheol is behind this biological terrorist attack. Choi Hyun-suk tries to use his radio to call for help, but it doesn't work. Suddenly, the infected notice people trapped inside a restaurant and rush toward the entrance. When they fail to break the glass door, one infected lets out a loud scream. The others copy it, then step back and attack the door together at the same time. As the glass begins to crack, Professor Kwon quickly types, "Turn off the lights," on her phone and shows the message to people inside the restaurant. A girl sees and quietly switches off all the lights. As soon as the restaurant becomes dark, the infected lose interest and slowly crawl away. Suddenly, a video starts playing on the restaurant's advertising screen. The infected immediately rush back and crowd around the screen, trying to reach the man shown in the video. As the glass begins to crack again, Professor Kwon quickly comes up with a plan. She notices cardboard standees in store and ties them to Hyun-hee's wheelchair. Using a hair tie to keep the wheelchair moving, she sends it rolling down the hallway by itself. The infected mistake the standees for real people and chase the moving wheelchair. Taking advantage of the distraction, Professor Kwan opens the store door and calls everyone to come out. The group quietly escapes from the restaurant and enters the store. However, one frightened girl runs back into the restaurant. Seeing this, Professor Han goes after her to save her. By then, an infected notice them and attack them. Professor Han pushes the girl toward the store entrance and throws nearby objects to distract the infected, making it chase him instead. Meanwhile, Professor Kwan safely brings the girl inside the store. Professor Han then hides inside a sports shop behind a rack of clothes. The infected follows him into the shop but gets distracted after spotting several cardboard standees. At the same time, the infected gathered around the wheelchair finally realize that the standees are not real people. One of them lets out a loud groan, passing this information to the other infected. Seeing this, Professor Kwan remembers CEO Kong Wu's speech about the slime mold's collective communication. She realizes that the infected are also sharing information with each other in the same way. Meanwhile, the infected inside the sports shop continues to evolve. It slowly stands up and quickly spots Professor Han, who immediately tries to escape. As he runs, the infected knocks him to the ground but also falls. Professor Han gets up and keeps running toward Professor Kwan. Just as he is about to reach her, another infected suddenly jumps on him and bites him. Within seconds, more infected surround him and begin attacking him. Professor Kwan tries to save him, but Officer Lee Bong-suk pulls her back and locks the door to keep everyone else safe. News of the biological terrorist attack quickly spreads across the city, and many people gather outside the building in protest. Meanwhile, dozens of infected keep smashing against the main entrance, growling furiously at the police officers standing outside. Inside the store, the survivors call their families. Professor Kwan receives a call from Professor Han's wife on his phone. Sadly, she tells her that Professor Han has died. Heartbroken, his wife quietly ends the call. The group wonders when help will arrive, but Officer Lee explains that no one is coming because the building is under quarantine. He also tells them that Seo Young-cheol has the vaccine in his body. If they can capture him, everyone may still have a chance to survive. Professor Kwan then reveals that she last saw Seo in the VIP room on the third floor. She also explains that the infected are evolving very quickly and have formed a communication network through mucus. She believes that if they can send false information through this network, they may be able to confuse the infected and stop them from recognizing them. After hearing Professor Kwan's idea, everyone agrees to follow her plan. A former track athlete volunteers to act as bait. He sprays himself with perfume and steps outside. As soon as the infected smell him, they begin chasing him. Using his speed, he escapes and hides inside a beauty shop. The infected share the human scent with each other and continue searching for him. To trick them, he smashes several perfume bottles, filling the shop with a strong fragrance. The infected follow the perfume smell instead of him, allowing him to safely return to the group with several perfume bottles. Professor Kwan then pours a trail of perfume across the floor and sprays the remaining perfume on a few mannequins. After that, the group covers themselves with antifreeze to hide their scent and leaves the store door open. The infected enter the store and search for humans by smell. They follow the perfume trail into another room, meanwhile the survivors quietly leave the store. In the corridors, the group sneaks forward as quietly as possible, but the teenage girl accidentally bumps into a zombie and falls, ending up trapped beneath it. While Hyun-suk goes back to rescue her, Professor Kwan uses a lighter to activate the emergency sprinklers. The water mixes with the white mucus, leaving the zombies paralyzed for a few seconds. Hyun-suk sends the girl back to the group before the zombies leave the store. Carrying his sister on his back, he fights his way through the infected. A zombie reaches the girl again, but Professor Kwan hits it with a fire extinguisher and pulls both girls into the elevator, where the other survivors are waiting. Hyun-suk continues fighting, using his athletic skills to push the zombies aside while running. Two zombies throw another zombie at him, but Hyun-hee warns her brother just in time, allowing him to dodge the attack. The thrown zombie crashes into the elevator and attacks Officer Lee. The siblings quickly pull the zombie out, throw it back into the hallway, and finally close the elevator door. Meanwhile, the news reveal that Seo Young-cheol's father, a professor at a prestigious university, was exposed for misusing research funds and exploiting student researchers. 4 weeks later, Seo Young-cheol's father took his own life. News reports believe that the terrorist attack may have been an act of revenge. When the survivors reach the third floor, Officer Bong-suk opens a bathroom door and finds Seo Young-cheol standing inside. He immediately arrests him. Young-cheol warns the group that using water was a mistake. He explains that once the water dries, the virus will spread through the air even faster. Officer Bong-suk says they must reach the rooftop because the police cannot enter the building. Since the infected are considered patients, they are not allowed to use deadly force. Luckily, Hyun-suk leads everyone to a hidden cargo elevator that only the building staff know about. As the elevator slowly moves upward, Bong-suk sends a message to his team, asking them to meet the group on the roof. During the ride, Seo compliments the athlete on his speed, but it is only a distraction. He suddenly stops the elevator on the 9th floor. As soon as the doors open, a crowd of infected rushes inside, and the survivors are forced to fight for their lives. The rest of the group fight hard to push the creatures out and Yang Cheol calmly walks out. The survivors watch in shock how nobody attacks him before the doors close. Officer Lee says the Yang Cheol carries the vaccine in his body, so they must capture him again to develop a cure. While the group argues over what to do, the elevator reaches the 30th floor where a zombie is carrying another one to mock the siblings. Not wanting to fight another horde, the survivors decide to go to the second basement, where the security cameras are located, to track Yang Cheol's location. At the same time, Suli joins a special team sent to search Young Ch's secret laboratory. Inside the lab, they discover many documents and boxes containing frozen monkeys. One officer notices that one of the boxes is broken and empty. Suddenly, a monkey jumps on him. Startled, the officer steps back and accidentally crashes into another box, causing the monkeys inside to panic. They smash their glass containers, escape, and begin attacking the soldiers. As the soldiers are killed one by one, Suli tries to escape, but a monkey jumps onto her and starts cracking her helmet. She manages to push it away. Just then, another soldier shoots the monkey and kills it. As soon as the monkey is shot dead, all the other monkeys suddenly freeze. The team then looks at a board and discovers that every monkey was connected to the one they had just killed, which was marked as number 1. Meanwhile, at the Dongri building, the survivors reach the parking lot. There, they notice 3 zombies fused together in a strange shape and begin to wonder if the infected are evolving once again. Once the survivors reach the control room, they close all the windows and check the security cameras. Professor Kwan realizes that Yang Cheol somehow knew about the former athlete's skills, even though he had been hiding in the bathroom. She concludes that he can see everything the infected see. Using the security cameras, the group finds Yang Cheol on the 3rd floor, where he appears to be searching for something. Soon, Yang Cheol finds CEO Kong, who is believed to be the first infected. He offers Kong his hand, and Kong bites it. Yang Cheol immediately collapses as his body begins to change. At the same moment, all the infected suddenly freeze and let out strange growls, as if they are receiving new information. Seeing this as the perfect chance, Officer Lee tells everyone to go to the 3rd floor. Hyun-hee stays in the control room to guide them through the security cameras and gives directions over the phone. The group climbs the stairs without being attacked because the infected remain frozen. They soon reach the 3rd floor and successfully capture Yang Cheol again. The infected suddenly wake up and start chasing the survivors. The group quickly hides inside the nearest office while the infected gather outside the door. Professor Kwan notices Yang Cheol's eyes moving and realizes that he is communicating with the infected. She immediately blindfolds him and loudly says that the group is leaving. Believing her, Yang Cheol sends the infected toward the exit, clearing the hallway. Professor Kwan then warns everyone that Yang Cheol can communicate with the infected. From that moment on, the survivors decide to communicate only through their group chat so Yang Cheol cannot overhear their plans. Following Hyun-hee's text messages, they move through the corridors using the safest route. However, when they reach the 4th floor, Officer Bong-suk realizes they are heading back to the control room. He loudly suggests leaving Hyun-hee behind and going straight to the rooftop instead. Yang Cheol overhears the mention of the control room and immediately shares the information with the evolved infected. Now intelligent enough to read the building's map, the infected begin tracking the survivors. Furious, Hyun-suk grabs Yang Cheol and shakes him, trying to stop him from communicating with the infected, but it is already too late. He immediately runs toward the control room to save his sister. By then, the control room is completely surrounded by infected. Professor Kwan wants to wait for the siblings, but Officer Lee points a gun at her and forces the group to continue toward the rooftop. Meanwhile, Hyun-suk calls Hyun-hee and asks for directions. Wanting to save her brother, Hyun-hee tricks him into taking an elevator that safely leads to the rooftop. Before the infected break into the control room, she says her final goodbye to Hyun-suk. Moments later, the infected attack her, while Hyun-suk breaks down in grief. Shortly after, Yang Cheol falls to his knees and begins crying as well. At the same time, the group receives a message from Hyun-suk. He promises to kill Yang Cheol to avenge his sister and warns that none of the survivors will leave the building alive. Meanwhile, Hyun-suk wraps tape around his arms for protection, grabs a knife, and heads into the hallway. He starts fighting the infected and makes his way to a security office. There, he checks the security cameras to find the survivor's location and broadcasts it through the building's PA system. The announcement attracts the infected, sending them straight toward the survivors. During the attack, an infected knocks Officer Lee to the ground. Lee shoots it, but another survivor points out his hypocrisy, reminding him that he had earlier called the infected patients. In response, Officer Lee shoots the man in the leg. As the infected get closer, Officer Lee hides inside a store with Yang Cheol, leaving Professor Kwan and the 2 girls to escape on their own. Officer Lee waits inside the store until the noise outside stops. Believing the infected have left, he comes out with Yang Cheol. However, the infected are still waiting outside. By this point, they have learned how to use silence as a trap. The infected immediately attack Officer Lee. He tries to fight back by shooting them, but he runs out of bullets. With no way to defend himself, he is overwhelmed and killed by the infected. Professor Kwan uses the opportunity to capture Yang Cheol again and drags him into a storage room. There, she ties him to a shelf with tape. Professor Kwan then sends a message to the two girls, telling them that she is going to retrieve Officer Lee's phone so she can contact the rescue team. However, the other survivors from the group chat have already turned into infected. Through their eyes, Yang Cheol reads the message and learns about Professor Kwan's plan. Meanwhile, Dr. Seol he explains to the government officials that the infected cannot be cured because damaged nerve cells do not recover. She also tells them about the monkey experiment, where killing the first infected caused all the others to stop. After carefully reviewing the security camera footage, the officials discover that CEO Kong Wucheol was the first infected. Meanwhile, Professor Kwan finds Officer Lee's phone and contacts the officials. She tells them that they have captured CEO Yang Cheol. The officials decide to split the rescue team. One team will secure the vaccine by capturing Yang Cheol, while the other team will search for Kong Wucheol, the first infected. After Professor Kwan leaves, it is revealed that one of the infected lying on the floor is still alive and hears everything. Through it, Yang Cheol also learns the group's plan. Meanwhile, the rescue team lands on the rooftop and begins moving down through the building. However, Yang Cheol has already sent a large group of infected to block one of the corridors. One half of the rescue team is quickly overwhelmed by the infected. Back in the storage room, one of the girls hears someone claiming to be the rescue team and opens the door. But it is actually the evolved infected, who can now speak. They immediately attack the girls. At the same time, the other half of the rescue team manages to kill Kong Wucheol, believing the mission is finally over. Moments later, their teammates, who had already been infected, shows up and attacks the soldiers, killing the rest of the team. In the laundry room, Professor Kwan hides and watches Yang Cheol walking with his army of infected. Suddenly, Hyun-suk appears and starts fighting the infected. Because his body is covered with zombie blood and white mucus, the infected no longer recognize him as a human, so they do not attack him. Realizing this, Yang Cheol gives the infected direct orders to kill Hyun-suk. While the fight continues, Professor Kwan knocks Yang Cheol to the ground by pushing several boxes onto him. She wraps a cable around his neck and ties it to a shelf to stop him from escaping. Yang Cheol calls his infected army for help. The infected immediately leave Hyun-suk and rush to rescue their leader. Hyun-suk follows Yang Cheol and is about to kill him. Just then, he sees his sister walking toward him. He runs to her, but it is a trap. Controlled by Yang Cheol, she suddenly stabs Hyun-suk with a knife. After that, Yang Cheol finds Kwan, who throws the invitation at him because she's realized he sent it. It was Kwan who reported his father's dirty business. However, Yang Cheol thinks that incident was caused by miscommunication, which is why he wants to connect all of humanity's minds as one. Kwan is shocked to see him, but before she can react, new agents burst in and she rushes to hide. The men capture Yang Cheol and see Kwan, but leave without her. When she has an opening, she runs to hide in the storage room, and the zombies won't move away from her door. Meanwhile, Seol he watch all this from security cameras. Afterward, Seol he calls Kwan and tells her about the monkeys. Kwan realizes that the main monkey wasn't the first infected. Professor Kwan tells her that the main monkey was not the first infected, it was the one controlling all the others. Seol he immediately tries to warn the officials that they must kill Yang Cheol, but they refuse because he is carrying the vaccine. Just as the escort team is about to reach the rooftop, more infected soldiers appear and quickly kill the remaining agents. Yang Cheol then takes a soldier's phone and calls the officials, pretending that the rescue mission was successful. After that, he escapes in a van. Once he reaches the streets, he unleashes his army of infected on the protesters and police surrounding the building. Meanwhile, Professor Kwan dresses a mannequin in her jacket and wears the jacket of a dead infected to disguise herself. She then quietly escapes from the building. Outside, panic spreads as people desperately run for their lives. Government officials and police officers also try to escape the chaos. During the confusion, Professor Kwan calls Seol Hee and asks for Yang Cheol's location. Seol Hee rushes back to the command tent and checks the security footage to track him. Professor Kwan steals a car and follows Seol Hee's directions to chase Yang Cheol. She tries to hit him with the car, but he dodges it at the last second. Yang Cheol orders the infected to chase Professor Kwan's car. She drives at high speed, trying to escape, but crashes into another vehicle and jumps out just before the infected reach her. Seeing this, Yang Cheol sends even more infected after her. Professor Kwan quickly takes off her jacket and throws it onto one of the infected. The others gather around it, forming an ant-like circle around the jacket. Yang Cheol forces his way through the crowd and pulls the jacket away. As a result, the entire group collapses. When the infected get back up, their evolution has reset, and they can no longer recognize humans as before. Taking advantage of the moment, Professor Kwan attacks Yang Cheol. He easily knocks her down, but it is part of her plan. She quickly rolls under a bus covered with large pictures of human faces. The infected mistake the images for real people and rush toward the bus, pushing Yang Qiu into a fire in the process. Yang Qiu catches fire and is eventually killed. As soon as he dies, all the infected suddenly freeze. Professor Quan calls Seol He, who confirms that every infected has stopped moving. Relieved, Professor Quan walks away. However, in the final moment, one infected suddenly moves its face, hinting that the nightmare may not be over.